I'm Kareem Rae, your host at the One Soccer Nation podcast. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Thom Chuparkoff. He's the Vice President and Director of OSPORTS. OSPORTS provide architectural planning and design services for sports, recreational, and entertainment facilities across the nation. We're going to learn more about an exciting development they're working on for the Philadelphia Union, a new MLS Academy Training Complex in Chester, PA. This project will transform the local waterfront, provide top-tier training facilities, and host youth sports tournaments. Thom is here to give us a behind-the-scenes look at the design and impact of this world-class sports complex. Thom, thank you so much for taking the time today. How are you doing?
I'm good, Kareem. Thank you for having us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So what was the initial vision behind the creation of the Philadelphia Union new training complex, and how does it align with the long-term goal of the club?
Yeah, it's a great question and a project that they've been working on for many years. We have been working with them for the better part of about 4.5. And as you know, the Philadelphia Union are pretty much a legacy club in MLS. They're in a blessed situation where, in Chester, PA, they've had the stadium site that has anchored the whole development. And over the course of, the last 10 years or so, they've slowly acquired adjacent buildings and facilities where they're able to move their administrative headquarters to the same property. Right. So from my perspective, our perspective at OSPORTS, we've been watching as, they've been kind of leading the way as MLS clubs are trying to co-locate all of their business affairs and academy systems, into different areas of their sites in the fabric. In this case, they've had a very specific vision where they all wanted to be, co-located on one piece of land. They have the luxury of doing that in Chester, right? Not every club has the privilege or the luxury, if you will, to have all of that urban fabric around them. So, the vision has, evolved over time. Since we've been working with them over the last 4 years, commercial development was a big part of the conversation at first until, we did a lot of validation and just kind of, due diligence with the club and with the community and with the businesses of both the Philadelphia Union, their lower divisions in their academy system. So the vision is to put the Union on a larger map and help grow soccer in America.
Amazing. I love that you said help grow soccer in America. It's such an exciting time where soccer is in America. All eyes around the world is on America's soccer right now as we speak. With saying that, when did the Union get involved with OSPORTS? Did you guys reach out to them, or did they reach out to you guys?
Yeah, it's a great question. No, I think just industry connections, which I think is amazing. I mean, no different than how you and I met at Soccer X, right? Like, I've been around the soccer world for the better part of 7-8 years in a professional circuit. I worked on Orlando City Soccer, Philadelphia Union training facility, DC United Sporting a little bit, training facility, and Dynamo, and et cetera. And through the network, Tim and the Tim McDermott, who's the president of the Union, was communicating with a mutual colleague of mine and made an introduction. And we started talking around COVID about the possibilities and probability of this ultimate district that they are now created at the Wistis Bank Sportsplex. And so it was really just an introduction, and the introduction went well. And, we just now have been working together for the better part of 4 years.
That's amazing. I mean, as you mentioned, how we met at Soccer X. So it's, that's a good point to mention, that it's always good to go out to these events, shake hands, meet people in person. And that's how deals can happen. That's how this podcast is happening now. So very true. In regards to the key features of the training complex, such as the 7 outdoor fields, the full-size indoor fields, and the 40,000 square foot supporting building, can you touch on that?
Yeah, well, it's again, I mean, the story is interesting because there's a lot of parallels to just how soccer is evolving in America. Again, like I said, at first we were looking at this complex, which is tens tens of acres, and 100 100 plus if you include all the parking lot, et cetera. We were, they were trying to figure out a way where they could develop their academy system, monetize the site, provide a rehabilitation and enhancement to the city of Chester, which for those who have been to Chester, anything, any business that can come in and put their hang their hat into a business, whether it's a brewery or it's a retail component or it's a new office component or other, is only going to help and enhance the betterment of Chester, PA. And the union always had that wherewithal to know that the more that they could do from a business standpoint, it would help the citizens in the community there in Chester. So the conversations originally had a lot of mixed use development, maybe some hotels to support game day, and then at the end of the day, the club, with all the economics are going on point, they kind of were led down the path, rightfully so, where they decided to co-locate their academy, which was historically in a different town of Phil, the PA area, where now they have what other clubs in America aspire to be and what clubs in Europe already have, right? They have their competition field on property. They have their admin. They have their U14 to MLS next team to their MLS team, all in one site. So it really became, a sports village and an all-encompassing training academy and system, to the likes where it's not a coincidence that they're the first team to sign a 14-year-old to a major league contract, right? Like it's a direct result of them understanding the business of soccer and they're competitive every year recently because of this mindset.
Amazing. Really diving in and focusing on grassroots and really investing in it. So, Philadelphia Union is a prime example of that, is what I'm getting here for sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about indoor facilities. What are the benefits of having a full-size indoor field, and how will it be utilized for both training and community events?
Yeah. So I'd like to kind of answer this question twofold, if you would entertain me. In respect to the Philadelphia Union and the premise for the indoor there, those needs, wants, and are very different than an indoor in Jacksonville, Florida, per se, right? For like the Jaguars. So there's obviously the need in northern climates to have an indoor facility to be able to train and practice in inclement weather, when it's cold and snowy outside. I mean, that's the obvious one. The second one is, athletes like to train, and sometimes, they're training because they're in rehabilitation, or they're trying to train to prevent. And sometimes there's sensitivities associated to that individual or that athlete training. So indoor facilities do provide a level of privacy to training and regime. So as you can imagine, there's, video coaching is a big deal, and, just kind of watching how other teams train. So, indoor facilities provide the team another level of privacy, and during coaching and practice. That's on the private side of the team standpoint, but from the community standpoint, there's just not enough fields for kids, right? It doesn't matter. I mean, I live in Tampa, Florida. We have offices in many different states, east of the Mississippi, and we do work all over this country. And it doesn't matter if I'm in Tacoma, Washington, or Tampa, Florida. There are not enough fields, and there are not enough places for kids to practice, play, and be a part of something. So indoor facilities from a public standpoint, in my professional opinion, also provide a safe place for younger kids to play, climate controlled, right? You're not exposed to the heat. You're not exposed to, slippery fields, and, not all kids have the luxury of having certain hardware, meaning cleats or footwear. And so it provides another dynamic to the younger athlete that's not as equipped to handle adverse conditions per se.
Absolutely. But it's definitely very still important for players to be able to stand, to be able to deal with those outside weathers as well. for sure. But those are
Yeah.
some great points that you mentioned in regards to privacy. We know, drones are a thing now, and cameras. I think a great example of that recently, I'm not too sure if it's the most recent one, was the Olympics with the Canadian women's national team. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so privacy, that was a good point that I just learned today. Weather control, for sure. So those are really great points, Tom. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
In regards to community engagement, how will the new training complex enhance youth soccer and community engagement in Chester?
Yeah, so that one's an easy one for Chester. They've done a really great job. First of all, I can't be remiss not to mention how much effort the club put into the communication with the community, understanding what was really needed, and how they could most deploy their assets to help the community. And the Worcester Spank Sportsplex even has a live Twitch page where you can watch. And there's 7 fields, as you mentioned briefly already, and 3 of those, if you will, are earmarked directly for community play and academy play, and they're booked. They're booked solid. So again, it gives the children an opportunity to be near a club, to embrace a club or kit, and be able to learn from the best. And or even if they're not learning from the club themselves, and maybe it's league play, they get the observation, the optics, and the presence of being near the club. Seeing the stadium while you train is mental encouragement. So the economic impact of these fields is not only is it rentability for other entities, it's brand exposure for sponsorship, it's opportunities for smaller businesses to get in front of more people at a smaller scale, more affordable scale. So it's exposure, right? It's just making exposure convenient.
100%. The point that you said about the youth really touched me in regards to having the younger you are experiencing a stadium like Philadelphia Union or the training complex, the better, and as you said, really inspires the youth, and gets them going, and keeps them on a positive track to say, hey, one day I want to train here. Hey, one day I want to play in the stadium. So that point definitely touches me and brings me back in time for my playing experience 100%.
Yeah, I bet.
Um, you know, what economic benefits does a training complex bring to Chester, especially in terms of hosting youth sports tournaments and attracting visitors?
Yeah, so
You kind of touched on it in regards to the mixed use with the hotel, and having support closer to the stadium for fans to go back to, etc. But if you could expand a little bit more on it, that'd be amazing.
yeah, well, I mean, when one looks at developments, and as these sporting complexes take shape or mature, they become more sophisticated. And again, because we're focused on what the union's doing right now, is you know it's the arteries of development are just naturally coming to fruition. They do have their corporate admin building there, but it's like 100,000 square foot old. It's a really awesome building. It used to be the power station. It used to, back in the early 1900s, the coal ships would pull up, they'd pull the coal out, they'd put it in the building, and they'd make energy. That building has been retrofitted to become their community office building. So by enhancing the use of the exterior property, gives the union the opportunity to provide more office space for other businesses that wouldn't otherwise be down there. So if they can get 2-3 companies to move their corporate office building or their corporate offices into the powerhouse building, that's a direct benefit to Chester, right? Because now those people are driving to Chester, those people are eating lunch in Chester, they're buying gas in Chester, etc. So there's that piece. And then there are businesses that borderline dilapidated, that were just kind of eroding over the last 15 years around the area. Now the city of Chester has, and with the benefit and teaming of the union and many other constituents down there, Rainey Street, which is the main road that drives into Subaru Park and the complex, that's been redeveloped. The roads are now been repaved, a new curb, new site lighting, new street lighting. New businesses are coming online, new restaurants and breweries. and you can't forget the fact that it's on the river, and the Riverwalk is now being addressed, right? So now it's the beautification project of cleaning up the Riverwalk, which is a direct result of this project. So a lot of environmental remediation that went into this, and I mean, it's just like I said. There's every time somebody turns around, there's another level of optimism, and another little project spawns another project, and again, in 4 years, it's unrecognizable on what it is now versus what it was. And it's amazing.
That's pretty cool. I like how you said one project may spawn another project. That's pretty cool. In regards
Yeah.
to, what would you say was the hardest part about, bringing this project to life and putting it together?
Well, that one's different. That one's hard. I mean, it's the architecture and construction right now, or mainly construction right now, is coming out of COVID. What's hard is just getting things for prices that make sense. I mean, speaking candidly, as everyone knows, anything that had a chip in it after COVID was almost impossible to get, right? So control systems, HVAC systems, steel prices, like the material costs have been very challenging, and working very tightly with a great build partner in BPGS Construction, right there out of Delaware, Philadelphia area. We've been able to really keep a grasp on what's reasonable and not. And it's, look, I mean, they're building something nobody's ever had, and we're doing it at a really good pace and a really good economic dollar, for both public and private. And it's a very complicated project. There's indoor component, there's outdoor component, there's obviously Riverwalk component, there's the environmental stuff, there's public gymnasium space, which we haven't really talked about yet. We'll get to it with indoor like gymnasium style instead of just indoor turf. So there's when you're trying to provide a product that really is about the community, you have a lot of different people, a lot of different constituents that have opinions and want to be a part of it, and just being able to wrangle all of those and really kind of distill that and put it into a project bucket that makes sense for everybody has been very difficult, but it's overcomable, and it has been. And this thing is, in the next 6 to 8 months, phase two, which is the building proper, is going to be front and center to the world.
Amazing. I mean, I know how it is in regards to like dealing with multiple advisors and organizing that for us on our side. So I could only imagine what you're dealing with at the scale that you guys are working at. So that's pretty amazing, and I'd love to ask more. I'll probably offline ask you for some
Yeah.
some advice for sure. What's been the funnest thing about the work that you've done, or you could tie it specifically to this specific? Probably, what's been the most favorite thing about the project that you're currently working on with the Philadelphia Union?
I think it's the coolest thing is I mean, we have a great project team, right? Like, I tell people, you got to have good relationships, because these things are very stressful. It's obviously there's a lot of capital goes into this, a lot of emotion that goes into it. Having a great project team and client, and developer and builder is really key, because I tell people all the time, it's not a matter of if you have hard conversations, it's a matter of when you have hard conversations, and you got to be able to swim through that, and just let that be white noise. And it's been very fun knowing that we're creating something that in football in America we don't have. They're the one of a kind. There are many clubs that have fields and stadiums and a training facility on one side, but when you look at the magnitude that they have, all their division one or their first team stuff, they have all their admin, they have all the U14, 15, 16, 17, MLS Next, all of that on hand. It's incredible. And I think the funnest thing is, it's like, it's complementary to like the British Olympic Association in Bath, right? It's training, it's coaching, it's physical, it's sports science, it's all of that in one place. And to me, like being a part of I call it, the domestic 1.0. I think is incredible, and I can't wait to see what comes of it from their club.
Absolutely. I mean, you already made a comment that this is a project that is going to be resembling projects that are already existing overseas in Europe, and this being the first in U.S. This sounds like it's going to ignite more business to come to O Sports for more bigger scale MLS projects for investing into the youth space. Am I right on the dot with that one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't try to force anything to anybody, but like I guess I would say that regardless if O Sports, myself, and my team is working on something, I mean, I those who know me, I want to grow the game here. I didn't play professionally, such as yourself. I did play up until through high school, and it's an amazing game. It's a lot of potential, and architecturally it's the project type I've done the most in my career. Soccer in general and training facilities. I just want us to be an advocate and helpful. So I guess that would be the message. Like if there's any lessons learned or pros and cons or advice that we can give, and somebody sees us out and about, we're part of the team, right? So we want to help them.
Amazing. Um, can you provide an update on the current phase of construction and what to expect in the upcoming phases?
Yeah, so this is broken into 3 phases worth of work. First phase was all the outdoor fields. So there are 6 operational fields going right now, 3 of which are technically 7. I'll explain the technical 7 part in a second, but 3 natural grass fields and 4 synthetic fields. And one of the field 7 is a smaller field, so it's not regulation play. Um, so the 3 so we name them 1, 2, 3 for the natural grass, 4, 5, 6 for the artificial, and then 7 is the smaller one by Subaru. All of those fields are in, all the fencing, all the sports lighting, all the video coaching, speedo cameras, all of that stuff is in play on phase 1. And then phase 2 is the buildings proper, which is a full size indoor soccer field that can accommodate American football as well, and lacrosse, right? So going back, the club is very sensitive about community sport. So lacrosse and rentability for the field for lacrosse championships and stuff like that is a part of the equation. There is a 2-court gymnasium component that is there for use recreationally, for tournament or for community pickup. But also there for all the admin buildings. I said there's 100,000 square foot corporate office building that has multiple different offices in it, provides them an asset to be able to go at lunch or after work or whatever to play some basketball. That is indoor field, and the gymnasium proper is scheduled to be complete by the end of this year, December, January of 2024. And then there's another significant size, 40,000 square feet of player development space, which are locker rooms for the U14, 15, 16, 17 that I mentioned, video coaching, team offices for all the academy. And that'll come online, a quarter or 2 after the indoor component in the gymnasium. And then phase 3 would be, if there was a traditional phase 3, it would be the betterment and Riverwalk improvement project.
Nice.
Yeah.
So lots of construction. We're living in a time where a lot of conversation around sustainability is happening. What sustainability and environmental considerations were taken into account during the design and construction of the complex?
Yes, that's a really good one too. A, it's the right thing to do. B, but there's also financial incentives, right, to encourage people to pursue those paths. Obviously, developing a large swath of land adjacent to Delaware River is it's very, there's sensitivities, as you can imagine, with stormwater runoff, drainage and all that other stuff. So a lot of sustainable techniques went into water collection, drainage, environmental, deployment of where the water goes before it gets to the river, that kind of stuff. So a lot of underground attention went into sustainability tactics, being very sensitive to the pervious versus impervious nature of what's grass and what's not grass, or what's real grass and what's not. And then we have easy things like EV chargers, plentiful around the park, and we've evaluated solar collection devices. Obviously, the plumbing and HVAC systems and the systems in the building were developed with high SEER ratings for the HVAC units and other techniques. But I would say that the team is very cognizant of everything they're doing, trying to make sure that it's the most sustainable piece of equipment, or it's the most sustainable strategy for power consumption or collection.
Understood. You know, underground. When you're explaining all that, I'm just thinking about the amount of equipment and technology that goes into something like that, which I'd be pretty interested to see. But yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big piece of it, Kareem, because you start digging in the ground that's been empty for 15 years, you have no idea what you're about to find, right? And so it's that the old taking dirty dirt out and putting clean dirt in, and so trying to find the balance. That's the other thing we did actually, is the site from the river is 10 feet lower than the road, Seaport Drive. So there was a very cognizant decision to be where the field levels are, because we wanted all the fields to be uniform in elevation as much as possible. There is somewhat of a gap, but instead of us digging a bunch of dirt out and disposing that, there was a cut and fill scenario where we took this dirt, which is useful, put it over here to use that. And so from a sustainability standpoint, we tried to use as much of the same earth as we possibly could have.
Got it. I mean, that point that you just mentioned in regards to you're not going to know what you're going to find kind of reminds me of my former coach, just off topic. He owns about 100 acres of land here in Canada, in Ontario, close up to Barrie, and he wants to build a training complex, et cetera, and a few fields. And in regards to the land, there was two problems. One was zoning, and two was there was ancestral things underground. So I was like, I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
That was a learning experience, because we were talking about mixed use. So no, that's pretty interesting. So that's pretty cool. With saying that, I have two more questions, and then three fun questions. In regards to community access, how will the facilities such as the cafe and fitness rooms be accessible to the public, and what programs are planned to involve the local community?
Yeah, so the easy one is, again, the gymnasium, the cafe, the food and beverage area is 100% community use. When there's a tournament on complex, those are open to the public. Those cafes would be open for the people in the office buildings, to go down and grab some lunch, or whatnot, to support the local business there. The programs, I mean, there's a lot of youth programs in Philadelphia and the Chester area. So just, providing access to, tournament play for lacrosse, tournament play for soccer or futsal, or, American football, men's and women's, right? So each of the fields are marked. That's the other thing that we kind of glossed over, but the community access piece, when you look at a synthetic field and you see lines on it, there's most of the people that see 3, 4, 5 colors, right? And those 3, 4, 5 colors are different sports, right? And each color is allocated so they can stripe off or cone off, different configurations. So each of field 4, 5, and 6 have a different striation of field markings, so they can play a diverse set of matches. So I think it's pretty diverse in the sense that it can accommodate quite a bit, which was the intent from day one. But yeah, I mean, it's really meant to bring the public forum and the private forum together in a controlled environment, in a safe environment. A lot of the other decisions that went into that was just being able to create safe districts. When you're creating these large sportsplexes, you want to be very careful to separate vehicular traffic from pedestrian traffic, right? To keep out the accidents and problems. But at the same time, you have to be sensitive. You don't want mom or dad carrying his or her coolers and their tents and their chairs and having to walk 200 feet, for tournament play. So a lot of consideration went into the access for the community physically to the site.
Yep. And then, uh, actually, if you don't mind, before the last question, I was interested to ask about traffic control. Um, what considerations and planning went into that?
Yeah. So, this we're in this particular case, we're benefiting from being one side of the whole complex being the river with the emergency vehicle access road, which is the Riverwalk, right? That is vehicle rated for emergency use. So we were able to very strategically make sure that we can get emergency vehicles onto a field if there was a problem, without having to traverse through a parking lot or having to traverse through a pedestrian thoroughfare. So there are some crossings. Those crossings would just be controlled by personnel at the moment. But most of the parking is on the benefit on the fringe of the complex, which is benefiting where we can have all the deliveries, all the vehicles, all the emergency people inward already. So people don't have to traverse that. So Seaport Drive's a pretty big road that goes east west. So the traffic in, traffic out. It's a good spot because it's not there's not just one way in and one way out, right? And a lot of times that's what people complain about, right? It
Mhm.
takes them too long to get out, takes them too long to get in, and they could have had a great time they could have won their match and had a great time, but then they get stuck in traffic for an hour, and it compromises the whole experience. So just making sure that the main roads, Rainy Street that I mentioned, Seaport Drive, and the other ones are they were all beautified, they're all addressed, they're all attended to and preserved.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And the last question before the fun ones is future plans. What are the future plans for expanding or enhancing the training complex, and how do they fit into the broader strategy of the Philadelphia Union and MLS?
Yeah, well, I mean, that one's a tough one for me to answer, right? Because it's kind of not really something I'm not in those conversations per se. I mean, I can tell you what I do know. I do know that they're a progressive organization. They are very forward minded and forward thinking folks. I could see different levels of enhancements to the complex to incorporate more technology, more training, sports science related stuff that I think that like the Australian Institute does a great job of deploying science into their research and strategy and training. I think I could see the union taking a deep dive into that. I could see them again. I'm speculating, but I could see them, taking a look at Subaru Park in the next five years and really imagining what that stadium wants to be, because it's one of the originals, right? It's 20 years old, and the game has changed, the fan has changed, and the athlete has changed. Let alone in the last 4 years, but especially in the last 15 years. So I could see them getting comfortable or getting situated in their training facility, and then you're looking to see what other components they could add to enhance our probability to be successful on the world stage.
Nice. So that's pretty exciting. And for the fun questions, where should I start? I think we'll go with the first one. Are you a Messi or Ronaldo fan? Messi or Ronaldo?
Yeah, I think you already know this one. You kind of asked me, but I think I'm going to have to take Ronaldo on this one.
you, you
I
I kind of forgot I asked you, but I remember now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, look, Messi is, I mean, watching both of them growing up, it's incredible. What Messi's done in America by coming over here, and everything he's done has been incredible. I think that if I could say that the delineating factor was, I think Ronaldo still got it in him, and he's still trying to, compete at that level in his at his stage, and I just think it's amazing.
Got it. Wait, are you? Do you have any Portuguese ties in your background?
I do not.
Okay,
I do
okay.
not.
I was gonna tie it back to that. I was
No.
like, maybe that's why you're a Ronaldo fan.
No, Chuparkoff is more Macedonian than anything. So
Got it. Um, what are your thoughts on the 2026 World Cup? With three countries hosting: the U.S., Canada, and Mexico. What do you think about that format? And are you excited for the World Cup?
I am excited. I'm also excited that we're hosting because I would say we'd have a tough time getting in it if we weren't hosting. But no, I think it's awesome. I think it's going just watching how much soccer's grown since 2015. I think with the host cities that were selected, I think they hit a home run with the cities. I really do. Did I want a couple out of Tampa? Yeah, whatever. But like I think it's going to be a really good experience for everybody. Um, I mean, the last World Cup that I got to participate in was, and I think it was what, '94 in Orlando, right? And that was the last time I actually got to see one in person. So I'm pretty jazzed up about catching a couple games this year, or this time around.
Nice. If you guys have any extra tickets, I just need one. You guys got one laying around.
I got you. If I can figure it out,
Keep,
we'll do it.
keep me in mind. And then
Yeah.
who like besides the U.S. because you're in America. Besides the U.S. winning, who would you all who else? What country would you want to go up against the U.S. in the finals if they make it?
I think I would have to pick. So who would I want to go up against, or who do I think is going to win? I
I
guess
mean,
you asked me who it is. I think it'd be cool. I think it would be cool to see France or Brazil.
in the finals
I
against the
think,
U.S.
yeah, like
Yeah,
one of those teams. Like
yeah,
and then I don't even know if that's possible, like with the group stages and everything. But like, I think both of those clubs are pretty amazing. Obviously, Brazil's got so much history and just prowess. But like with coming out of the Olympics with France, I think it would be really neat to just see them continue to show on the world stage. So I would say one of those two.
for sure. And the last question I'll ask, fun question, is how far do you think the U.S. men's national team is going to go?
I don't know if they're going to go very far, to be honest. I think I don't know. I'm not. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay,
I'm
cool.
gonna I'm gonna wimp out on that question.
No worries. All right. Well, this is awesome, Tom. It's really cool to I know we talked about this months ago when we met in Soccer X, but it's nice to finally do it, and it's pretty cool when it comes back full circle. So again,
Yeah.
really appreciate you taking the time for being on the One Soccer Nation podcast.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you taking the time for us. It's a lot of fun, and we put together a cool little video for you. I think it's all encompassing of what the vision really wants to be for these developments. It's no longer a stadium in a field. These mixed use developments, these divisions, or these districts and villages. Line in where there's this. It's like where the community and the sport are just kind of one and the same, and there's a lot of positive examples of these developments going up. Like what they did at Truist Park and at the Battery in Atlanta. I mean, that's a great example. I mean, there's a couple great examples in Canada, and the union will get there. And every project we do, it seems like you a big part of the equation what's supporting the stadium, right? How are we keeping people there, or how are we bringing people there? How are we really embedding the brand into the community, and or how are we embedding the community into the brand? And then at the end of the day, it's really the same thing. So it's really fun as the design and the features of these complexes come to fruition. How it's just you don't really have to leave.
Yeah, absolutely. A
Yeah.
place to work, live, and have fun. And that's what's so exciting about these mixed use development projects. I think there's a lot more coming out. That's something that we're working on at One Soccer Nation, and we're super excited to have that collaboration with O Sports and continue our collaboration. And really appreciative for the super cool video that you guys have created. I'm going to work on getting it on our website so it could be on the page, and we'll make sure we'll have the O Sports logo there to promote you guys as well. As a big thank you, and yeah, again, looking forward to the future collaborations, Tom.
Right on, man. I appreciate your time, and we'll talk soon.
Sounds good.